Okay. My concern is that the victim's mother, this was the name that she thought was your name. That's what she thought.
Yeah, that's
And
different
so
from my ID.
she had no ability to like do a background check or to check and see, you know, who you were before you moved in, because she had a name that was not affiliated with your criminal and sex offender registry name. You know, and it put you in a position to have access to children. You know what I mean? By you using that name, it's just the whole sequence of that. My colleague touched on a little bit, but it's very concerning, and it appears to have been deliberate so that she wouldn't know that you're on the federal.
It wasn't deliberate at all. And
On
that's just
her part, I believe that
no,
the
I
victim's
understand.
mother.
Yes,
I think
no,
the
I
victim's
understand
mother
that though.
believes that's what you did.
Yeah, but no, yeah, it was. First of all, when I first met her, I went by just my name, Jake. She only found out about my last name because I gave her, like I said, I gave her she had all my information. So I gave her my ID, she had my social security card and birth certificate. If that's what it said on it. It's not like I told her, oh, this is who I am,
Yeah.
But that's just.
She didn't have the last name. She found out the last name Branch after the children were victimized. She did not know that before. It sounds like, according to what I read.
And you heard correctly. It was that easy for this repeat offender to get into a relationship so that he can have access to ones that he desires. That is how great the state of Connecticut protects the community it's meant to protect. You see, because just several years before this repeat offense, he was locked up for doing the unimaginable to a 4-year-old. Every type of unimaginable act, by the way. And what did he get? He got a 5-year sentence. After he gets out of prison, he gets into this relationship simply by changing his name. Oh, remember all of that probation officers and supervision that Connecticut talks about? No, it didn't stop him. And there he had access to more victims. Now, the state of Connecticut finally sentenced him to 15 years in prison, but don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, he is still just a low risk on a static 9-9, a low risk to reoffend. Make that make sense. Oh, and I'm not done. While he was in prison, they found him with illegal material. How that got there, who knows? Why he's still a low risk to reoffend? Who knows? Why he didn't get extra time for that? Who knows? How would we know? We don't have PhDs. We're not on the parole board. We're not a district attorney. We're not a judge. We're just sheeple. So let's jump in and watch this insanity.
Jake Branch, 321-602.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Jake Branch, inmate number 321-602. He is serving a total effective sentence of 15 years to serve, followed by 10 years special parole for assault 1 and illegal contact. As of today, records reflect the parole eligibility date of September 17, 2025. There is no victim input in this case. If there is an offender accountability plan, it has been reviewed and shows the offender has completed the following programs: Problem Behavior Track 1, and he's currently participating in Voices. Utilizing statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score falls within the moderate range of risk for recidivism. Utilizing the static 99R, the offender's overall score for offense recidivism falls within the low to moderate range. Mr. Branch, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
It's been a long time. First and foremost, I definitely have come to terms with accepting my responsibility, what I've done. It took me a long time to do that at first because the beginning parts of it was all about making excuses of why I was involved in what I was involved in, mainly because of drugs and different things. But after a while, I realized the biggest problem I had was myself. I wasn't allowing myself for support. This is the second time that I was incarcerated for this. And I think the main problem that I was having is that I didn't take serious my treatment. I didn't take treatment serious the way I was supposed to before. And it took a long time for me to do that. And now I'm just at a much different place than I was before. I've completed a couple of programs since I've been in here. I've done a couple of things for myself. schooling wise. Like at this point, I'm ready to get home and work on some other things. Probably a little bit of therapy for help, continuing my treatment and program. Work, stuff that I've never done. Like I just didn't take life serious at all. I'm just at a different point in my life right now.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Branch. And what we have is that we took a look at your background, what you've done since you've been in, your interview with the parole officer, evaluations from programs. And based upon that, we have some questions to get to your suitability for parole. Once we ask those questions, we're going to talk about your case and give you a decision, okay?
Okay.
And the questions this afternoon, we'll start with Board Member Turner.
Good afternoon, Mr. Branch.
Good afternoon.
So I have that you did the track 1 of the problems of behavior. What other programs have you done?
I've done voices, fatherhood program. I did ADP at one point. Those were just, most of those were volunteering programs, except for voices and the track 1.
And that's this incarceration.
Yes.
Okay.
I just finished voices about a week and a half ago.
So tell me what you learned.
Wow, I'm not gonna lie, that voices program was definitely different. I learned a lot about how the choices that we make affect more than just myself and the victim. I learned about financial stability, instability, as well as mental stability, which I never really thought of like that at all for any crime that I've ever done, which is weird. But like, I did enjoy that program because it opened my eyes to a lot of things that I didn't never pay any mind or any attention to at any point. A lot of the times when I do stuff, it's just I'm out.
Okay, I'm going to stop you because we're getting far afield. What did you learn about the impact of your crimes on those you victimized?
I know that that's something that they have to live with for the rest of their lives. I know that some of them, I'm pretty sure that they had to go through therapy, which also goes into the financial states of things. I know that affected their families as well as the community in itself.
How did you, what was the impact on the families?
What happened?
What was the impact on the families?
Distrust, anxiety, anger. Like, I mean, I could go on because I know I affected them in a lot of different ways. I did not know that before, but I learned that now.
Especially because, you know, they're the ones there caring for the children.
Yes.
Who are suffering with the trauma, having nightmares and flashbacks, having trust issues because of what you did.
Yes.
Right. So, and then they're the ones paying for the therapy and.
Yes. That's what I was saying about the financial state. Yeah.
So, did I read that you blame your drug use on
No,
the crimes that you committed?
That's the thing. I never really blamed it. I always speak about it because that was a problem. My drug use definitely was a problem, but I don't.
So it was contributed to the crime.
Yes, it just contributed, but I don't blame it.
Okay, all right.
I won't.
You said on drugs, anything may happen. So that's an indication to me that you got to get a handle on your addiction to these substances or more children are going to get victimized.
Yes.
Okay, and you haven't taken an addiction service program yet, right?
I've just done tier 2 and I've done some NAA courses, but nothing heavy. I didn't get a chance to do anything heavy. I was just more focused on mainly the track 1 and voices.
Okay, actually, I misspoke. You didn't do track 1, you did the short-term program, right?
I'm not for sure. I don't know what they're called, but
36 sessions, track 1. Okay. Did you do that in your last incarceration as well?
In my last incarceration, I started it, but I didn't finish it.
You know, since we're talking about impact on family and voices, you were dating the victim's mother under a false name. Why did you do that?
I didn't give her a false name. She had my social security card and birth certificate. I had a nickname that I was going by, but she knew who I was.
I thought that was part of you hiding. You got get the offender registry for the risk of injury.
Yes,
Now you're on it for lifetime,
yes,
and you have a standing criminal protective order against you until 2045.
yes.
Well, I would need Mr. Branch for you to complete an addiction services program before I can find you suitable, since
Well, I just signed up for tier 2, but I'm just doing a waiting list for the next group.
okay, well, that's pretty good. You finished the track 1 program, excuse me, in June of 2023, and then in July of 2025, you got a DR for possession of material. Why?
All right, so that ticket was weird. I write books, and there's something was said in the book that they took and went sideways with it, but it wasn't what it was supposed to be. It was weird. I didn't even get a
You
chance
had
to
8
fight for that
pieces
part.
of sexually explicit material. And you told the PO that your wife sent you pictures of herself in see-through panties.
Yeah, that was at the beginning of my bid. That was in 2015 when I was in Mandoo, when I got those. The pictures of my wife was from 2015. That was a long time ago.
So then 2025, they were a shakedown of your bunk, a photo of a couple engaging in activity, hidden under your bed, several photos of what appeared to be underage girls in lingerie and suggestive poses.
Yes, when they investigated, those pictures weren't underage girls at all. That's what I'm saying. So because of my incarceration and what I'm in jail for, I tend to be targeted for a lot of things. So like I said, they read a part of my book and thought something else different from it.
Okay.
But
Board
yeah,
members,
I have pictures. I definitely have pictures. I'm still a
we're
man.
moving on to board members Sadauskas for questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So I'm just gonna go back to something that you just said. So is Jake Peterson, is that your nickname?
No, all right, so I got adopted, and I didn't know until later on that they changed my last name. My name is Jake Branch, but when my aunt adopted me, they gave me her husband's last name. I didn't find that out until after I got incarcerated my first bid. When I went to get my ID, they wouldn't give it to me because my birth certificate said Jake Branch Peterson. So it's not an alias. It's just a name that I didn't even know I had. I've been going by only my last name for my whole life because that's all I knew. But I guess when my aunt adopted me, they gave me her husband's last name.
Okay.
So Peterson is part of my last name now.
Okay, my concern is that the victim's mother, this was the name that she thought was your name. That's what she thought.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
my ID.
she had no ability to like do a background check or to check and see, who you were before you moved in, because she had a name that was not affiliated with your criminal and offender registry name. And it put you in a position to have access to children, you know what I mean, by you using that name. It's just the whole sequence of that. My colleague touched on a little bit, but it's very concerning. And it appears to have been deliberate so that she wouldn't know that you're on the offender.
It wasn't deliberate at all. And
On
that's
her part, I believe that
No, I
the victim's
understand,
mother,
yes.
I think
Yeah, no,
the
I
victim's
understand
mother
that, though.
believes that's what you did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but no, it was. First of all, when I first met her, I went by just my name, Jake. She only found out about my last name because I gave her, like I said, I gave her she had all my information. So I gave her my ID, she had my social security card and birth certificate. If that's what it said on it. It's not like I told her, oh, this is who I am, that I got it.
Yeah.
But that's just.
She didn't have the last name,
Well,
she found out the last name Branch after the children were victimized. She did not know that before. It sounds like, according to what I read.
Yeah,
And had she have known that, she probably, because she appears to be, she knew how to check to see if you're on the registry. Maybe she would have checked it in advance. This could have been avoided if she had the right name, you know? Maybe, I don't know.
I mean,
Alright,
that's true, but like I said, I wasn't utilizing an alias. That is just that was on my ID. That's the name that I was going by. When I did the name change, I'm not aware of whether or not they switched everything over, but that's the name that I go by because that's the name change they gave me. I went through a whole name change process.
It's important that going forward in your life, whatever happens, that you're honest with people on who you are and what's
Yeah, of
happened in the
course.
past, so they have the ability to make educated decisions on how they want to be involved in the situation. You
Yeah.
understand? It's not fair for them to have you around their children and not understand what's going on, you know?
Yes. No, I understand completely.
You agree with that?
Yes, I'm not even making excuses. I'm just letting you know the situation. That's why the situation was like that. It was just the awkward situation with the whole ID and everything situation. I wasn't giving her a false name or anything like that. That's just the situation. That's how the situation came up.
Okay.
But I do understand that.
Okay, thank you very much for listening to what I had to say. That's all I have.
All right, so Mr. Branch, the questions are over and your part of the hearing is over, so you can listen now.
Yes.
We're gonna discuss your case and give you a decision. Board Member Turner.
So it's very concerning that Mr. Branch was on probation at the time he committed this sexual assault first for a similar offense involving another child. You know, pleased for him that he was able to take the track 1 program, but the role that it appears drugs, perhaps even alcohol, played in lowering his inhibitions to do anything is extremely concerning. And the fact that he's accumulated disciplinary reports for this period of incarceration, I don't find him suitable. It's great that he has 10 years of special parole to follow this sentence, as well as 20 years probation. So he's going to have a lot of people, you know, keeping track of him and
Yes.
supporting him. And that's going to be a good thing in the interest of public safety.
Board Member Sosakis.
Yeah, I agree. I could not support this. I do not find him suitable today. Thank you.
I have nature and circumstance, inadequate institutional program participation, inadequate evidence of offender change and current offense committed while on probation.
Yes.
I have no alcohol consumption, halfway house placement, mental health evaluation and treatment is deemed necessary. Problems behavior treatment, no contact with minors without parole officer's permission, restriction on enhanced internet and device monitoring, and no contact with victims ZK and TC.
And the prior were TW and MW.
General stay away, TW and MW. Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
So regarding Jake Branch 321602, I move to deny parole based upon the nature and circumstance of the current offense. Current offense committed while on probation, inadequate institutional program participation, and inadequate evidence of offender change. And to set his special parole conditions as no alcohol consumption, halfway house placement, mental health evaluation and treatment if necessary, problems behavior treatment, no contact with minors without parole officer's permission, restriction on enhanced internet and device monitoring, no contact with victims ZK and TC, and a general stay away from TW and MW. Is there a second? Those in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Mr. Branch, we weren't able to give you parole, and we did set your special parole conditions. We wish you well.
You know it's bad when even Mike Pohl can't grant, and let me just show you how bad it is. There's no articles on this case, but Sir Richard found this. This was his initial crime, okay, that happened in 2005. He only served 5 years for this. Look at what he did. This is what he did. This. Do you understand that? Do you see that? Do you see what got him 5-year sentence? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the state of Connecticut. And then when he's out, he only serves 5 years. He lands in a relationship. He says his wife. So even sending pictures while he's in prison, because he said 2015 was when he's in prison. 2015 is also the year he was convicted. So I don't, is same woman? I don't know. I don't really know. But with children, so when the state of Connecticut says, well, or when their DA say, we're going to give you 5 years, but 35 years of probation, you better watch out. It doesn't mean anything. It means zero. You can actually get married to someone with children, because who cares? And then if you go on to continue to look at what it is for his next offense, he has this. And I think it was 2 victims, and they only bundled it up into one. And while he's in prison, he's caught with material, and he still ranks out as a low risk on the Static 99. And they'll keep referencing that at Static 99 like it's the Bible. And they're nuts. And you know what's crazy? It's not just the state of Connecticut. It's all 50 states in America use this Static 99. They use the same system, which we all see is not even a joke. It is a crime. It is nothing short of a crime for every state to use this dangerous manipulative tool to harm our children, that give a license for these monsters to be released from prison. And he's getting out in 2 years. And that's it. He'll be out in 2 years. And what's going to happen then? How many more victims must he create? And the blood is on the hands of the DA. The blood is on the hands of the judge. The blood is on the hands of all those involved in the system. 2 years, he's getting out. We're going to jump into another hearing. Thank you, Sir Richard, for pulling what research was available on this. Let's go.
My name is James P. Maher Jr. My number is 434-026.
Also present this morning, is the Office of Victim Services. This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for James Maher, inmate number 434-026. He is serving a total effective sentence of 15 years to serve, followed by 10 years special parole for assault 1 and illegal contact. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of November 27, 2026. There is victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows the offender has completed the following programs. Positive behavior track 1. He is currently participating in VOICE with an anticipated completion date of July 9, 2026. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score falls within the low range of risk for recidivism. Utilizing the static 99R, the offender's overall score for the offense, recidivism falls within the low range. Mr. Mayor, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Good morning. I just want to make a clarification. I think she noted the VOICEs to be completed this year, but I completed VOICEs about 3 years ago. I also did the alternative violence program, where I was a facilitator in that program. I was doing the PEP program, people empowering people, until I was transferred. I'm currently attending and have been attending the PEL program, college program, for about 2.5 years now. And I worked in the garden. I've done other various things, carpentry program in Cheshire. Just to keep myself busy and to, learn new skills. I will say, once I came into prison after I get over to self-pity, my primary thing was to figure out why did I do what I did? Why did I go from being a good father, family member, running my own business to doing something that was very terrible? I really did a deep dive into that. There are programs in DOC, but I wasn't really getting everything I wanted out of it. And I did a lot of from the outside, I was receiving literature and books and help on emotional intelligence to figure out what truly happened in my thinking at that point in my life. I had come to kind of the determination that I had a lot of stress going on. I was about to have my fourth child in the house. We were foster parents. I was running a business, and I just completed a large project where we were owed about $190,000, where the contractor blatantly said, "We're just not paying you." So all these things, like world seemed like it was crashing down. I was very depressed, and I feel that if I could just keep myself in check with my stress level, first off, I would never do that again. It was a temporary thing. Happened no longer than a month, and then I'm the one who looked at myself and said, "What the hell am I doing? This is crazy." And ever since then, I've really been making sure my emotions were in check. And when I get out, I plan on just going back into, probably working for somebody for a little while until I have enough funds to start my own business again, which is sandblasting and restoration work, primarily a government contractor. Hopefully get in touch with my family, my adult, they're in their teens now. It's my children, and being an active part of their lives again, and basically pursuing some of my dreams I still have. And that's pretty much it.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Maher. So what we're going to do is we've read about your case, all of the related documents. We've read about what you've accomplished since you've been inside your interview with the parole officer, your evaluation with the program and other evaluations that have been accomplished.
Yeah, so just for clarifications, regarding the programs completed, as Mr. Mayor mentioned, he did complete the Voices, the Pell program, the Alternative Surveillance program, the People Empowering People. He also did not complete the track 1, it was the short track PSB program.
Sure.
Yes.
And then, so then what we're going to do is take turns asking questions to bring clarity to your suitability for parole. Then we're going to talk about your case and give you a decision. And in between those two things, we're going to hear from the Office of Victim Services.
Okay. Yep.
All right. So certainly the offense here was very serious. I appreciate you reaching out and doing additional things on emotional intelligence. What I wanted to get more at is why did you specifically? I know you talked about stress, but why?
I think my life, I felt out of control. Like I was like, it seemed like everything was against me. And even though the offense happened with somebody that I believe there was no issue with to control, it's like we were having a very good life. And I don't know, I think maybe I needed some attention or excitement in my life. I know it's not the right thing, but that's pretty much, I think, at that point in my life, I had a lot of pressure on myself, and I don't know, I think just things became kind of a doldrum on something outside of the problems. And everything ended up being an easy target, unfortunately, which I will say has brought me, I have deep sadness about this whole situation. Very deep, not just because of what happened to me, but because of what happened to my entire family blew up. Everything I love and cared for. And, I just feel that that's why things happened a couple of times, and then I'm like, this, what am I doing? That's why I put myself in check, and like, this is, and then I was trying to do like, how do I fix what I did, and sometimes things aren't just fixable.
That's really true. Sometimes things aren't fixable, because the victim here was what, from 8 to 10 years old when this happened.
Yeah. Yes, correct.
So what, you took voices. What do you think happened to her?
Well, when I think back to that situation, I can remember when her whole demeanor changed from being happy-go-lucky, great, good grades in school, and to having more outbursts and issues in school and more withdrawn. Wasn't talking as much. And then just more secluded in her bedroom a lot. So I know that the damage that I did was, a lot was permanent and will last. She'll always have some type of. They'll always be there for the rest of her life on some level. And I'm sure she was very scared. I never really thought of it at that point during the time because I was so like caught up in everything else I was trying to do besides that. And also having other kids in the house, we're trying, okay, well, now we're still trying to raise the kids, but now I'm dealing with that on top of it. And then her mom didn't know, why was she thinking this way and everything else. And of course, at that point, I wasn't talking about it publicly, within the family anyway. It wasn't until later on where it came out and we were talking about it. But it's just, it's from, I know it's very, as her being the victim, it's very difficult, extremely difficult for me to even be in the house. And then we also weigh that along with all the other kids and me being the father of the other kids, like I'm supposed, like a real, like what father's supposed to be doing. What do we do? Well, it was just almost an impossible situation for everybody. So I know the voices, and then from what I've learned, like I said, it's a generational impact. Not only will it impact her and all the relatives and friends on some level, it'll be a generational impact. Because even say she has children down the road, or my kids, they'll be that concerned and more anxiety over maybe meeting people. And those fears, those ongoing fears. And that's just overall sad,
Yeah. So that the stuff that you've accomplished in terms of treatment is only a bare beginning, right?
Yeah, I'm sure it's ongoing therapy. I know there's something I'll be required to do. It's some type of I think it's like there's 2 steps as believe that from what I've understood is a 2-level thing coming up once I get out. I actually went to a couple of meetings and one went counseling before I even came in while I was still on bond before coming to prison. And just get a taste of what's involved.
How long were you out on bond?
Approximately 4 years.
And you didn't have any other incidents during that time?
No, no, as a matter of fact, after the initial contact and issue, I think it was lasted about a month. Everything just stopped, once that stopped, that was it, because I knew that. It's just like, my reality was like, what am I doing? So I don't have those tendencies of doing that stuff. It was just, at that point, I was out of control. But then it's like, that's ridiculous. So I'm even thinking that way.
And whether it's on parole or whether it's on the 15 years of probation that you have, that you're going to have to engage in treatment for problem behavior in the community, right?
Yes.
And that either on parole or probation, there's going to be a stipulation about contact with any minors, right?
That I didn't know about. You
Yeah.
used before me.
I mean, that's the thing. It's, when something like this happens, it's like you go out and the only way that you can really have contact with minors is with a parole officer or probation officer's permission.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, whatever the rules are,
And that's an important thing to understand. And you didn't have any real DRs while you were inside, outside of some screws in your pocket, which
Yeah, I was more being naive, yeah.
I get it. I get it. You shouldn't have had them, but I get it. So that abiding by those rules are really important things to do, So halfway house, you're looking for either way, parole or probation. And, you said that you do have connection to the community and you have a skill so that you can begin to work again and, send financial support where it needs to go and stuff like that. So I really don't have any further questions. I'm going to find out if our other board members do. Okay.
Okay.
Board member Sazowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Mr. Maher.
Morning.
So let's talk about what happens in the future. You want to go back to work. I heard you describing the type of employment you want to be involved in. And it sounds like that there might be contractors, other people. What if something else happens where you get yourself in a financial stressful situation? That sounds like that played a role in all of this. How are you prepared to handle that now? Better.
So I've learned like there's, well, in prison, because there are a lot of, stressful things in here, pretty much keep to myself. I do meditation, I do artwork now, which I've never really did before. But financial things, I'm more than capable. I have a lot of different trades. And plus I have a little more control of the money, because part of it was I had on the outside, I also gambled. I had some gambling issue, which I was taking care of. So which is an addictive problem, gambling. No drugs or drinking. I don't drink alcohol or drugs or anything like that, but it was gambling was a crutch. And that also was part of the problem.
Yeah.
Because if I wasn't gambling, then I would have had the money to take care of the bills and everything else, even with the big hits I had in business. And I've been currently taking the Pell program with for small business administration. So actually, matter of fact, in my hand, I'm doing my final version of a small business plan for my class, my final tonight, which taught me to run a company more efficiently, keep more track of finances better. So that would also be a tool, basically helping me keep more stable financially.
Okay. So what are your plans for gambling when you get out? Going to the casino, using the apps and things like that?
I'm going to stay away from that stuff. I really have no interest. I haven't gambled even in prison in probably 3 years. The poker away 3 years ago, but my main thing was poker at the casino. But I'm not into sports betting and things like that. I'm completely avoid all that stuff, because I know the harm that caused, even before the situation, what took place to put me in here. I knew I was losing time with the family because I'm always gambling. Not just the money, it's the time, I had. So I plan on avoiding all that.
Yeah, it's just another, beginning of a downfall, bad
Exactly.
decision. You know what I mean? I wouldn't
Exactly.
even entertain any of it,
Yeah, right.
My colleague talked a lot about what happened with the assault. We didn't really touch on this other thing, so. In this attempted larceny scheme, you try to force, it sounds like your landlord, to give you money after you had a parent falling out. How do you think you could have handled that differently in that situation?
Could have hired an attorney.
Yeah.
And went that way instead. Yeah, I was trying to
Yes,
sell it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's all right, taking things into your own hands like this, sending letters and, it's all gonna lead to bad.
Yeah.
Just a bad outcome, you know what I mean? You could have
Yeah.
probably resolved this. It sounds like there was some legal action maybe you could have taken to resolve that situation, If you would have done it appropriately, you made it look like, extortion really,
Yeah, exactly. Well, at that point, so to lead up to that point, I was trying to sell my business.
Yeah.
Before I came to prison, to, obviously help finance my family and stuff and myself while I was in here. And the owner of the business next door, which is the landlord, but he was also the owner, was scaring away buyers.
I read, yeah.
And and I could have, and I could have handled it, but I was at the point, I was so desperate at that point, it was just literally within a week before I became incarcerated. Before I came in to serve my time for the assault. So it was a point of desperation, and that's what led me up to it. But once again, if I had prepared better, I wasn't gambling and wasting my time at the casino and stuff, I would have had time to do this properly and have the money for the attorney and prepare better for the transition from being outside to being incarcerated.
And you're saying that you understand that now, you handle these things differently, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Because I will say the big thing about being in prison is that with essentially there's no like real world responsibilities being having to support a family and run the business and everything else. You have a lot of downtime here to really reflect on your own life and what you did, what you think you did right, what you enjoyed, the pitfalls, and what you could have done differently. At least for me, that was a big part of it. Is learning from my mistakes and figuring, okay, well, what exactly happened to put me in this situation? Or why did I go thinking that direction? Or what put me down that path? And what I could have done differently.
Okay.
Use those tools, especially, tools, my mental tools, to move on in life, to use those, do what's right, or what's considered common practice.
All right, thank you for answering my questions, that's all I have.
Thank you. Board Member Turner, questions?
Yes. So Mr. Maher, I have real concerns about your decision. To go back to this extortion attempted larceny first, you made some real threats. You were going to disclose the client list for this company. You said you felt some of the processes posed a health risk to the general public, and you wanted them to work out a compromise with you. But you would already have one of their clients pay you a non-disclosure fee to keep them off the list if you sent the list public. I mean, there was a lot going on here that was really manipulative and actively extorting. So you claim this was stress. You claim the victimization of a child over a 2-year period is also stress. You you said that the crime against this child was in part that you needed attention and excitement. How are you going to experience attention and excitement going forward that doesn't bring you back to prison?
Oh, it's, well, I know that was just a combination of things going wrong in my life at that point. You know, if you're talking about the extortion part, we'll tell you that part first, is that company had hidden cameras on my side of the building. They had copies of my business stuff too. So it's just a one-way street on that. That was the back and forth battle with them. And once again, I could say that I could have handled it better, but they're a multi-million-dollar company with, 25 plus employees, and they're using their employees coming over and spying on what we're doing, and they were doing just as manipulative stuff to me on that part.
Do you use that thinking to justify the choice that you made to attempt to extort money from this company? To keep, like, if you were actually concerned about the serious health risk to the general public, it really did turn out to be about you lining your pockets.
Well,
Can we move on to the question about attention and excitement going forward?
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah. So, yeah, let's go back to what I was doing before. I mean, I was playing a lot of tennis, and I was doing a lot of hiking and adventure, camping, boating. Re-victimizing somebody is not even on the radar. So, that's part of the gambling thing too, is that the highs and lows of gambling. So that's what I need to avoid that as well. So.
It's very concerning to me to read about the threats that you made to keep this child silent. She was at such a young age that I'm sure that was pretty intimidating for her. I know you apologized at sentencing, and that as part of the agreement, you had to acknowledge what you had done. When I read the pre-sentence investigation, the thing that stood out and concerned me most was how you and your wife failed this child tremendously in order to keep the financial picture that you represented to the family. So when the victim disclosed, you left the residence, but you came back. And I mean, I can't imagine how hard that was for the child to be told that, if it's reported, then the family will lose their income and their home. And I mean, it was all this responsibility pushed off on a child who wasn't given the help, because the only way to get the child the help would be for the police and DCF to know what was happening in the house. So, the collusion on the part of you and your wife to keep this under wraps just was such a fundamental betrayal of your role as a parent, her mother's role as a mother. Just was heartbreaking. I know the mother indicated, after the fact, that not reporting the abuse had adversely affected the juvenile victim, which I think is a gross understatement. That was troubling to read. She was basically sacrificed. You have a standing criminal protective order against you until the year 2080. So when you sit here and you tell us that you intend to reconnect with your children, you understand there is a protective order in place.
Yeah, that I know. I mean, they're gonna be, two of my sons
I know they're stepchildren. This victim was a stepchild.
Yeah, she was adopted originally, then reverted back to her, last name and stuff. Yeah, so, well, reaching out to my children again, which will be, let's say, 20, 20 years old, 18 years old, and I think 16.
16.
I know, yeah, Tammy. I know that her specifically, I can't have contact. She has to be at least 18, I think. Is that how it works? I'm not really sure yet. I'm still learning this stuff. And without a supervised, has to be supervised visit or however that works. And once I learn the rules,
What do your children understand about your crime?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I haven't talked to my two younger children for several years now. My oldest son, which I think is 19 now, I spoke to a couple of times here and there. Periodically, once every couple of months. But I don't, outside of that, I really have no idea what's happening out there.
Well, your end of sentence and your 85% date, there's just a 4-month difference.
Yeah.
So, keep that in perspective. You do have 15 years of probation and lifetime on the offender registry. How do you think that obligation might impact you?
Sorry, can you repeat that again? I'm sorry.
You have lifetime on the offender registry ahead of you. How do you think that obligation might impact you?
Well, I don't know all the rules and regulations based on that, what the requirements are on that. I imagine your co-board member there said that there's no contact with minors. I don't, so basically I'd say that I would have to find out, basically, I'm sure wherever kids play or hang out, I can't go around. I really don't know. I really don't know the rules. But once I see the rules, I'll abide by them. I mean, I have to. I have no choice. I certainly don't want to come back to this place, and I wouldn't want to cause, not that they would cause any more harm to anybody, but.
And you do understand that the protective order prohibits you from having any contact electronically as well, through social media or through a third party. Like if your children are still in touch with the victim, you can't send messages to the victim through your children.
Right, yeah, I know that from the understanding on that part, I knew basically I cannot do anything that would cause any type of basically discomfort to the victim, meaning like even her thinking that I'm talking to somebody and saying something. I understand a general understanding of how that works. Once again, I'll know more once I get the list of the rules and requirements by probation or parole or whoever it may be, and then onto the groups I have to go to.
I have no more questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Maher, what we're going to do now is we're going to hear from the Office of Victim Services, and during this time, you're just not allowed to speak or react in any way, okay? Ms. Hamlet-Williams, could you help us, please?
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Sir Chair. Good morning, panel. I did hear from the victim who has elected that her aunt represent her and the family in this victim impact statement, and it reads, to the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles, I respectfully submit this statement on behalf of my niece, the victim, and our family in strong opposition to the parole of James P. Maher. I know Mr. Maher personally for many years. He was my brother-in-law, my oldest sister's husband, and the father of their 3 biological children, my nephews and niece. He was welcomed into our family and included in all of our lives for nearly a decade. That welcoming trust gave him access to those he ultimately harmed. The crimes he was convicted of were not isolated acts of crimes against strangers. They occurred repeatedly over an extended period of time and involved the profound abuse of a position of trust within our family. His conduct was deliberate, sustained, and fundamentally incompatible with the responsibilities of any human, let alone a father. My family's experience also includes the circumstances surrounding his sentencing. On the day he was scheduled to be sentenced in this case, Mr. Maher was appearing in another Connecticut courthouse to resolve separate felony charges, attempt to commit larceny first degree, to which he also pleaded guilty. The timing of those charges is deeply concerning because they occurred while he was already facing sentencing for the offenses that brought him before the court. Rather than demonstrating accountability and respect for the legal process, his actions reflected continued criminal behavior during a period when he should have been confronting the consequences of his actions. I understand that this hearing is not an opportunity to revisit his conviction or sentence. The issue before the board is whether early release is appropriate. Parole is intended for individuals who have demonstrated meaningful rehabilitation, genuine accountability, and that their release is consistent with public safety and the interests of justice. Based on my family's experience, I do not believe he has met that standard. The sentence imposed by the court was already the result of a negotiated plea agreement. He has since received earned sentence reductions that shortened his period of incarceration. Granting parole would only reduce that sentence yet again. I do not believe there is compelling basis to further shorten a sentence that already reflected significant compromise. Finally, it is important to note that a condition of his plea agreement includes special parole upon release, with extensive conditions imposed. Those conditions acknowledge the seriousness of his offense and the need for extensive supervision. They do not, however, provide a reason to release him before he has completed the sentence imposed by the court. The impact of Mr. Maher's crimes extend well beyond the criminal conviction. My niece will forever live with the consequences of his actions, as does our entire family. His own children have suffered profound and lasting harm as a result of the choices he made. Those consequences did not end with his conviction and will not end with his release. I respectfully ask the board to deny parole and require Mr. Maher to serve the brief remainder of the sentence imposed by the court, because it is the little justice our family has received following such horrific abuse by this inmate. Thank you for your consideration. Also, I'd like to add, I received this from the victim as she was viewing this hearing. And it quotes, "I am on the hearing call now, and I am outraged at some of the false statements he is making. He began abusing my niece in 2007. During that time, he had one child and my niece was 7 years old. He claimed it only occurred during the course of 1 month, which is false. It went on for years and was repeated and violent. He claimed it was done due to stress from work, but that is not true. He always makes excuses for his behavior and never takes accountability for his behavior. I apologize if this is inappropriate. I am just so upset at his false and selfish statements. This is so difficult. Also, he also stated when asked if he had other issues while he was on bond, and he said no. He was arrested the day before sentencing on felony charges. Thank you. And that was added from the aunt of the victim. Thank you, panel.
Thank you, Ms. Hamlet-Williams, and certainly, the damage that's done here to the victims and the family and everybody that's involved will be long-lasting and lifelong. So what we're here to do today is to decide whether Mr. Maher Jr. is suitable for discretionary parole from his 85% mark which is November 27, 26 through March 21st, 27, when he'll be released and go on to probation, which it's probation with special conditions, not special parole, as this was just stated. So my take on this is this. So Mr. Maher does not have any prior criminal history. His overall rating on instruments is low. He had one disciplinary report because he had screws in his pocket, probably at the time that he was part of the carpentry program. And he did complete the short-term defender program, the Voices, engaged in other programming, Pell Grant, carpentry, as well as what was the other programs that were stated, and was evaluated on the static 99 for recidivism when it comes to offenses, which rated out as low as well. In addition to that, he was, as stated, out on bond for 4 years. The biggest of these offenses that would be concerning, although they're all concerning, would be the any type of recidivism when it comes to offenses. And he demonstrated over a period of 4 years on pretrial supervision that he did not commit additional offenses. He is only, as I stated in my questioning, he is only the bare beginning on the work that he has to do. He will be in problem behavior. He will have restrictions on being around any minors. And, the really important work is that he needs to do to make sure, and appreciate the questions of fellow board members, is related to other things that are going on that will also be addressed while he's in the treatment for problem behavior program, which lasts for a couple of years, if not longer. So I would be supportive of parole in this case. Board member Sosakis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. But first, I'd just like to recognize the victim's family for making that brave and difficult statement, and the impact of this is certainly just terrible on what's happened here. Mr. Maher, as you mentioned, is low to recidivate, and we are only talking about 4 months approximately. It's not had a disciplinary report in over 6 years, about 6 years. And it's like a minor one at that. Never, like you mentioned, does not have criminal history. It's completed a number of programs. I think this 4 months could be best used on a higher level of supervision, so they can really get a handle on what's going on when he first goes out before he transitions into probation. So I'm also in agreement with you.
Board member Turner.
I'm not going to grant Mr. Maher early release to discretionary parole. The nature and circumstances of the offense is just so egregious, and protracted, and devastating. I find his explanation for the life circumstances that led him to choose to violate a child not credible. I think they're excuses. I appreciate that you cleared up that he doesn't have special parole. And there's nothing that I read or that was provided to us that indicates he got a sentence modification. Looking at the MIP from 2020 and the sentencing transcript and in all matches up 20 years with 8 to serve and 15 probation, lifetime on the offender registry. I don't feel that Mr. Maher has deserved earned the early release to discretionary parole, and I don't find it suitable.
All right. So I have halfway house placement, problem behavior treatment, no contact with minors without parole officer's permission, and no contact with victim VK.
I have one other, the mayor.
Yep.
This is the person that was on the phone.
HF. And no contact with victim HS. Anything further? All right, regarding James Maher Jr., 434026, I move to grant parole on or after November 27, 2026, with the following stipulations for his discretionary parole. Halfway house placement, problem behavior treatment, no contact with minors without parole officer's permission, no contact with victim initials VK or HS. Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no.
No,
And on a vote of 2-1, Mr. Maher, you've been voted to parole and your conditions will be explained to you prior to your release. Okay?
All right. Thank you.
This concludes the hearing for James Maher and for 434026.
See her really.
At least Turner made us feel a little bit less insane. At least she called out what we were thinking. It is nice. It's validating when you see a parole board member actually point out the obvious. We have to sit through this insanity, this parole hearing where you have Zeskis, whatever his name is, sitting there like, yeah, I understand financial stress caused you to do this. What will you do in the future? And it's just like, you sit here and you just are screaming into the screen. It makes no sense. You know what his role was? You know what his job was before he became a parole board member? You'll never believe it. He was a police officer. He's a police officer. This man who says things that you just that just have no rationality to it, that you would never believe, that you can't, it's like you can't make it up, right? He was appointed to the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles as a full-time board member in August 2024. He comes to the board having retired from the Waterbury Police Department as a lieutenant after 20 years of service. During his career, he was assigned to the Patrol Division, Vice and Intelligence, and the Detective Division, Statewide Narcotics Task Force, and Police Activity League. He also has served in the Torrington Police Officer as Sergeant with the Connecticut Army National Guard. He most recently worked as Director of Campus Safety at Taft School. So why is it that you adopted this child to do the unimaginable for 2 years to her? Well, financial stress. I see, says this detective with this honored career. I mean, it makes do they make you drink the Connecticut water before you become a board member? Is there like a rule you have to chug all of the Connecticut water with the Kool-Aid and everything else that warps your brain? You put the Mike Polk glasses on. Is that what you do? Because it makes no sense. And then this police officer, this former lieutenant, this detective, the family is begging. They want just a little bit more time. They are begging for a few more months. And you, with ice cold blood, say, no, we want him to get out early for some additional supervision. And we know that that's bogus. We know that's meaningless. We know that is ridiculous. For what? Supervision for what? Not to mention, what was it? Did Mike Polk say it? While he's on probation, waiting for sentencing for 4 years, which is a gift to give someone. He says he doesn't commit new crimes, but he did commit more crimes. He did. You spent half the parole hearing talking about it. It's just so crazy. I mean, again, we need to remember what he did. He adopted someone for one purpose only. And he fulfilled that for years. And he basically gets away with it. And I just don't understand. Look at this. Under 13 years old, 2015, right? They give him a 20-year sentence, which is a gimmick. Suspended after 8, probation 15. And this is why even the victim did not understand the deal. The victim thought he had special parole. And there's only one way to think all these years later that he has special parole, and that is for the manipulative, two-faced, agenda-driven DA that would have made her think that. She came into this hearing thinking he had special parole, which would have been that baked-in supervision that they're talking about. No, he doesn't have it. He has a suspended sentence, which means nothing. It means zero. We have never, ever seen somebody serve the time on their suspended sentence. They'll violate probation and they'll get a slap on the wrist, but they don't ever serve those years they're backing. We've never seen it. Call me out on this. Tell me one case. We've seen it with special parole. It's rare, but not suspended sentence with probation. No. And then the DA had a chance to you would think they would have been pissed that while he's waiting for this to happen, he catches a new felony, attempt to commit first-degree larceny, but they could have gotten him for extortion. They could have gotten him for so much more. And they gave him 1 year, which runs concurrent with his 2 prior sentences. So he got a freebie. He got a literal freebie. If this wasn't any other reason to say, you know what, let's give you more time. It's just crazy, guys. Thank you, Sir Richard, for the research. Now look at this prince. Nice looking guy, right? He literally adopts. He literally adopts the girl. A man suspected of essaying a little one from 2008 to 2010 for 2 years. He's arrested on Christmas Eve. He was being arraigned Monday. So the only good news is that he probably had to spend the weekend in, in jail, which is, an interesting time to. I was going to say, I read the article already. I was going to say, oh, the police did it intentionally, right? But no, he actually turned himself in after they got a warrant, after he heard there's a warrant for him. But 2 counts of 4th-degree essay and 4 counts of risk of injury to a minor. After his arrest, which came after a 2-month investigation by the Milford Police, Special Investigative Unit, and State Department of Children and Family Police received a complaint. Through the course of the investigation, it was determined that he did have inappropriate. They call inappropriate. I can't. With a victim starting in 2008 and ending in 2010. 2 years. 2 full years. And he lies during the hearing. He doesn't take accountability. The victims call him out. And these fools, sorry excuses of parole board members, reward him. For what? It's disgusting. And I know that the majority of the community feels the same way. Majority. I think there's every once in a while, one comment, by a troll. It's all of us. This was the extortion case. This is what they could have gotten him on. Police said that they responded to local residents for an extortion blackmail incident. The accused was arrested and held on a $10,000 bond. He's charged with criminal attempt at first-degree larceny. I don't really understand much of that case, but they could have gotten him for much more, and they didn't care. They didn't. So again, thank you, Sir Richard, for the info, and we'll go to another case.
My name is Aaron Davis, 391545.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Aaron Davis, inmate number 391545. He is serving a total effective sentence of 20 years, execution suspended after 5 years, followed by 15 years of probation for assault second. As of today, records reflect the parole eligibility date of October 19th, 2026. There is no victim in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows the offender has completed the following behavior short track: chronic discipline, domestic violence, and anger management. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender falls within the higher from a set of design. Utilizing the static 99R, the offender's overall score for sexual offense recidivism falls within the low to moderate range. Mr. Davis, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
How you doing? First and foremost, I would like to take full responsibility for my actions that led to my incarceration. I do not make excuses for the choices I made. I understand that my decisions caused harm and disappointment, and for that, I deeply apologize. I accept the consequences of my actions, and I have used this time to reflect seriously on the man I was and the man I want to become. During my incarceration, I spent a great deal of time examining my mindset, my influences, and poor judgment that led me here. I understand now that my action not only affected me, but my family, my community, and the victim that involved. I regret the pain that I caused, and I regret something I carry with me every day as a motivation to change. While incarcerated, I had the chance to had my share of obstacles, which led to forced institutional adjustment that I'm not proud of. Due to my charges, which are frowned upon, I was targeted, so that was a little better for me to survive and maintain stable living. But I'm not going to allow that situation to be exclusive. However, in surviving, it's easy to get consumed by negativity. Through scrutiny, I worked on bettering myself mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I've taken advantage of every opportunity available to improve who I am. In addition, I completed all my programs that were assigned to me, such as anger management, domestic violence, and PSP. I have focused on disciplines, patience, and accountability. This experience has humbled me and forced me to grow in ways I should have before. If granted parole, I am committed by living a law-abiding, productive life and have a strong support system waiting for me, including my family, who are prepared to provide stable housing and guidance. My goal is to secure steady employment, rebuild trust with my loved ones, and contribute positively to society. I want to be an example of growth and redemption, not repeated mistakes. I understand that parole is a privilege, not a right, and I'm asking for a chance to prove that I have changed. I also am prepared to follow the conditions and supervision and work every day to demonstrate that this opportunity is not misplaced. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. And what we're going to do is take a look at your background, what you've done since you've been incarcerated, your interview with the parole officer. Based upon that information, we have questions for you to arrive at your suitability for parole. And we're going to take turns asking those questions, and then we're going to talk about your case and your decision, okay? And we're going to start the questions this afternoon with Board Member Sazowski.
Okay, good afternoon, sir. Thank you for your opening statement. Can you tell us what you've learned about yourself during this period of incarceration?
Throughout this period of incarceration, at the beginning of it, I was more like ashamed of making decisions I had made. So with due patience and this being a situation that, concurred where I felt like I was putting the blame on not taking accountability for my actions. I always was playing like the blame game. So throughout this process, it really allowed me to self-validate myself and basically rehabilitate and figure out what was the issues that was causing my problems or me getting in trouble in the streets. So now I realize that, me not being patient, not taking constructive criticism, not abiding by the rules and not following things that I'm supposed to maintain so I can be able to, stay free. So with the being that time, I just start reading certain literature and start educating my mind to do better things and change my ways.
Okay. All righty. So regarding this, let's talk about that. Did the victim tell you to stop and then say no during the encounter?
No, not at all.
Okay. Because you say you take full accountability, responsibility. I heard a lot of good things from you in your opening statement. In the
Right.
police report, and you said you regret the pain that you've caused. I heard a lot of good things from your opening statement, but it does say in the documents that I am looking at, she told him several times not to do that, no. Well, and, several times, there's different ways throughout this description. According to my documents, but you're stating that that never happened.
No, not at all. That's why I was under scrutiny. I thought it was consensual at the time, and after that, it wasn't.
Okay, so when you say you accept responsibility, explain to me what you're accepting responsibility for. Like, what do you think you did wrong?
Wrong, because I shouldn't have been talking to her in the first place. That's the main thing. And at that time, I was going through my own personal situation with a relationship that I was having my own troubles in. So basically, me reaching out to somebody else and talking to somebody, I shouldn't even had that predicament. I should never. And that's why I said I take responsibility. So basically, I should never have been involved or even talking to that person.
Yeah, I agree. It's complicating your already difficult situations, right? Didn't help in anything.
Right.
By adding another person into, you were already in, it sounds like a difficult situation.
Right.
What about the fact of her age? Should you verify it, or, do you think that?
At first, I thought she was over the limit, and then after I found out, I felt more like, disgusted within myself. And then after that, I didn't know how to feel. I talked to after the person called my phone. I was like, I'm in shock. And then after that, I just didn't know what happened. And I got arrested the police. I went to go turn myself in, and then I was in there. I found out everything.
Whose job do you think it is to know the person's age, regardless of what she says? I mean,
I think that's why I said I think I could have did a better job
okay.
of understanding and trying to find out, but I just took word of mouth instead of investigating or finding out myself.
Okay, right. Because you know how old you are, for sure.
Yes.
So you have to figure out if the other person is old enough to be involved in what you're doing. You know what I mean? That's
Right.
on you. That's on you to figure out, not the other person to make sure, you know what I mean? So they can tell you anything that doesn't absolve you of the consequences if they tell you a different age. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. Why, after this happened, did you tell the police that you brought the victim to a party and then dropped her off, and then that was the last time? Sorry. It sounds like initially you gave a different version of what took place.
No, because that was going to be the plan at first, and then that never happened.
But you told them it did, right?
Yes.
So if you didn't do anything wrong, you didn't know how old she is, why would you tell them that story? Why would you tell them? That's what I'm saying.
At that time, I was just distraught by the situation. I was already upset. Once I already found out that situation, I just went along with what I said.
Okay.
Which was completely wrong.
Okay. I'm glad that you can, you're able to have some insight into recognizing some of the places you went wrong throughout all this. You know what I mean? I think that's good. Everybody have to be able, to be able to recognize, it's my job to find out how old she is. When the police started questioning me, it was already done. There was nothing you're going to be able to do about it at that point.
Right.
Making up these other stories, it just made the whole situation worse. You know what I mean? It's just compounding the problems. Okay, let's talk about the disciplinary reports. During your opening statement, and I think I heard you say it again while I was talking to you, you described some of your disciplinary reports as being, you felt like you were being targeted, or because of your charge, they may have come about.
Yes.
But you have a lot of disciplinary reports, and I don't think they're all, related to that. Like the last ones were in October. And it sounds like it was for intoxication and then contraband.
Yes.
What happened on those ones?
I was drinking at that time, and I was just going through a stressful phase, and I ended up getting the call. I wasn't intoxicated, but they gave that to me at that time, and I just owned up to it, and I just took self-evaluation of me messing up, and I just accepted it because of my consequences.
Okay.
Not that I was proud of it, but you know, I made a mistake, and I, you know, in DOC, they don't want you to do drinking and understanding. They don't want none of that contraband, and I made a mistake about that.
Okay, well, I'm glad you're able to recognize that that was not, those particular disciplinary reports were not a result necessarily of your charges and things. You said you were going under some stress at that time. What was going on with you at that time?
It was more of a family. I was going through. My brother was going. I had a lot of sibling things with my family, and at the time, my mental wasn't. I was stressed out.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of things going on. I lost a picture of my grandfather due to his death, and it was just backlash, and I went about it the wrong way.
Sorry to hear about your grandfather. I know it's not easy to deal with, especially in your situation.
Right.
My condolences to you. Now, you completed the problem behavior treatment program, right?
Yes.
So that's pretty good. Can you tell us what you learned in that program?
In that program, I learned a lot about myself, mainly basically making impulsive decisions, financial support, not helping my partner that caused me to come here, drug substances and alcohol substance, and mainly basically, like you said, if it's not up to the victim to state her information, even if she gave me the wrong thing or the wrong age, it's up to me, like you said, to do my investigation, know the people I'm around, stay with a positive group, remove the negativity that I can, and just try to just make sure that this doesn't happen again in the future.
How do you think you've changed the most since you've been in prison?
I think I changed the most with I'm a lot more humbler in my situation, where the aggression that I used to have or being so defensive about this situation has calmed me down, because it's a situation where you know, it's frowned upon, and I have to take ownership on my mistakes or my how I moved in a situation in the streets, and put myself in a predicament where if I would have avoided that, I wouldn't be in jail.
Yeah. I read something about you being self-employed delivering auto parts when you came to prison. And that's something that you want to maybe do again when you get out. Was that a job where you were paying taxes, or were they paying you cash? How did that work?
I was working for a trucking company out of Meriden, and we was delivering airplane parts, and we was getting paid 1099. So I was getting checked. I wasn't getting cash. And basically, I was doing that before I started my CDL. I was supposed to be, before I got incarcerated, I was going to start my CDLs to go to my get my CDL license. So I was just doing the box trucking before I go get my CDL and start doing the commercial driving.
And you want to do that again because you have experience in that field.
Yes.
All right, sir. Thank you for answering my questions. I'm going to see what my colleagues have to say. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Field Member Turner.
Thank you.
Mr. Davis, as part of your sentence, you have 10 years on the state's offender registry. And you also have a standing criminal protective order against you until the year 2099.
Right.
You said you thought it helped you identify high risks. You said one of your high risks is people talking.
Right.
I assume you mean in reference to your conviction?
Yes. So basically, yes, like you know, basically, you know, people judge me upon a mistake that I made and thinking that in the future that I want to keep repeating that same mistake. I
Okay,
understand.
it was a crime, sir.
Right.
And, you know, because of the registry issue, you know, people will have access to that information. How are you going to cope? Because you can't fight them all.
No, I'm not fighting at all. Just people are entitled to their opinion. As long as I'm just going to stay my straight and narrow, you know, work and take care of my family, do what I have to do for myself and maintain it. The noise outside, it's easier for me to walk away from than to hear it in a consumed environment where negativity doesn't go nowhere. I'm in a block where people get so quick to judge you and go point the finger and come to your cell and then try to threaten you, put you in a threatened environment where I can't walk away from. Well, in the world, if that happens, I can walk away from it and just get in my car and drive to my house.
So you said another high risk is females still feeling that they can throw themselves at you.
Yes, I don't want to have to go in that decision where, you know, either if a female sees me and she's lying to our age, I do more than like I said before, is, you know, investigate, you know, figure out what's going on, the age, if that's the legal limit. I don't want to have to go that route again.
Well, what are your efforts that you're going to undertake to address your hypersexuality?
What do you mean by that?
It's in the evaluation. He shared awareness that he would benefit from being faithful in his relationships, avoid clubs, make efforts to maintain a sobriety. All of this is to address your hypersexuality.
Yes, so basically, like, you know, I stay within a committed relationship once I get to that point and, you know, just focus on my family and the ones that been committed towards me. I'm not really worried about my social life or worried about clubs. I've been in jail almost 5.5 years, going on 6 years. So, you know, I'm not in competition with nobody but myself, and to make sure that I take care of me financially. So that's my main focus, to get back to what I need to be able to do.
Well, and, you know, at some point at 33, you know, you outgrow the meaningless encounters, you know, for something that actually is meaningful.
Right.
You know, do you know what the word minimize means?
Excuse me?
Minimize?
Yes.
Okay. Because I kind of saw that in a couple of places in the documents that I was reading. You said this was a one-time thing versus, but, you know, but you had been in contact with this victim over social media for a while.
No,
And if she was 14, 15, you know, it's not out of the ordinary for her to think that you're building a relationship with the ongoing contact and communication.
no,
So,
it wasn't
you know,
more.
you said she imagined that it was a relationship, but for you, it was a one-time thing.
Right, I only met her one time. I never seen her only once. I never and died with her more than once. I only talked to her on social media through scrutiny of seeing her for what I was posting. That's the only thing I would talk to her, or she'll comment on, you know, my basketball or football situation I was putting up there or posting. Other than that, I only met her one time. I never met her before that.
Well, but meeting isn't nowadays the basis of a relationship. It's the communication. It's all the social media. It's the messaging, etc. So when you picked her up from her house, what was your plan?
Yeah, I mean, my plan, I thought we were just gonna, you know, hang out with each other. We was drinking a little bit, and that was it. There wasn't nothing more than that. If it got to that point, it got to that, but I wasn't gonna force it on that.
Well, you know, it was a snowy evening, and this was a basement of a house. Was the house abandoned?
No,
Okay, the next door neighbor in the duplex was watching your car and reporting to the police because that house was unoccupied. So there was some concern about what you were doing over there.
no,
And then, so this, what turns out to be child, was, you know, in this house with you alone. And, you know, when you started making advances on her and she tried to discourage it, I mean, do you imagine that she was afraid?
no, this is first of all, I never, my house that I parked there because of I couldn't park on the street. So there was a band house next door. I was at my house, and it wasn't never no advances to the point where we were just drinking. And then I was never told nothing, not to do anything or nothing. That's why I thought everything was consensual.
But if it was consensual, why would she have reported it?
I had no clue at that time.
And she, the documentation indicates that she asked you not to. And I would imagine she felt like she was in a powerless situation because she's in this house, doesn't really know where she is and is alone with you, and you haven't taken the Voices program. What do you think the impact on a victim of assault is?
Victim, I don't know how she would feel, because I know that situation could have been bad, and Voices, they don't have that anymore until they changed it to something called New Thoughts.
No, Voices is in every facility, and New Thoughts is a separate program of its own, and you do have New Thoughts on your OAP. But
I never was told that.
when you were evaluated by the connection and you were asked about how when someone wants to have, you says when they have a conversation. And that really stood out for me because you had a conversation with this young woman and she was saying no, but you didn't listen.
According to that, that's what I said. I was never told no at that time. I would have never endured it, but I'm telling you, like I said, I made my mistake by enduring and keep going, and I made a mistake for it. I'm taking responsibility.
So you had intercourse with this 14-year-old without a condom. You were willing to impregnate this person that you met just that night,
No,
but you didn't do anything to prevent.
I wasn't impregnating her at all.
You very well could have, because you had intercourse with her.
Right.
And that's how women become pregnant. But you didn't wear a condom. So she very well could have become pregnant. And you apparently were okay with that possibility because you didn't do anything to prevent it. Is that the case with all the women that throw themselves at you?
No.
Okay. And you have no children as of now?
No, I do not.
That you know of, or, okay.
No, I don't have any children at all.
So there was alcohol involved in this, and you had alcohol there in the facility, and your intox ticket was actually Suboxone, and your urine tested positive for that. So I'm not really sure that it was accurate what you said to my colleague.
Yeah,
You have addiction services on your OAP, and I think that would be an important program for your rehabilitation.
Say it again.
You have addiction services on your OAP, and I think that would be an important program for your rehabilitation.
Oh, I'm in AA right now as we speak.
Okay, but that's different than tier 2 or tier 4.
Right.
Those are voluntary meetings for recovery.
Right.
Do you think alcohol is a problem for you?
No, it's not. I just feel like at the time I was just drinking it because of, going in the party phase, but I don't think it's.
Were you giving the victim alcohol at the time too?
It was on her own disposal. If she wanted somebody to give her
You
some.
provided it. Okay. So, all right. Did you learn about grooming in your problem behavior treatment program?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have no more questions.
Thank you. Mr. Davis, we're all set with questions. We're going to talk about your case and give you a decision. Board Member Sylvester.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Mr. Davis is here for this second. The victim between 13 and 15, and the perpetrator being more than 3 years older. When he gave his opening statement and throughout the period of my questioning, I did hear some good things from him. He said, I take full responsibility, I accept the consequences of my actions. I regret the pain that I caused. He's taken advantage of the opportunities while he's been incarcerated to be a better person.
And he's committed to being a law-abiding, productive person. He's asking for a chance to prove himself that he's changed. But that's why he should be granted parole. He rates high for the recidivate. He has completed his offender program, and it looks like he's had a job as a chairman in facility. He says today that he's been participating in AA meetings. I didn't have a record of that prior to this, but I take him for his word on that. I do see he's on the waiting list for some other programs that he hasn't completed yet, that we talked about. He was on probation when this took place, so that concerns me. And he's been successful twice on supervision and has failed 4 times. So that's another area that I'm concerned about. And then the disciplinary reports, he started by saying, some of the disciplinary reports are related to his charges. I understand that. And, talked about the people in the facility, but, when you look at the most recent ones, it had to do with substance abuse, and he hasn't completed an addiction services program. Something that we did not mention was that he picked up another conviction while he's been in jail. He picked up a conviction for possession of controlled substance related to one of his disciplinary reports. It looks like he got an unconditional discharge when he went to court, but none of that is good. He said he wants to maintain his sobriety when in the community, when he was talking to my colleagues, but he hasn't been able to do that while incarcerated, So, based on everything I heard, although I did hear him say some good things, and I think he, understands the changes he needs to make, but for today, I do not find him suitable for release on parole.
Board Member Turner.
Just a couple of things to add to what you said, Mr. Savaskis. In terms of the age difference, he was 27.
Yeah.
Not just, 17. And the 4 failures on supervision were all probation. And here we have the new probation sentence, which is kind of remarkable. The recent DRs are very concerning. I'm not sure, that they were part of the setup that he alleges, but 16 is a tremendous number of DRs to see somebody accumulate. And he doesn't get told the PO he doesn't need a relapse prevention plan, but I question that.
Mm-hmm.
He said he takes full responsibility, but he still very much denies different aspects of the crime, and wasn't able to, I think, really explain why he would choose to lie to the police. So I don't find him suitable today.
All right. And so we're looking for him to take a tier program.
And I think
You're
the police get some more insight.
Any other positive programming? Disciplinary report free. And CM1.
What do you guys think?
October of 2027.
It's fine by me. I think we have to put addiction services instead of a tier program,
Right,
so they can kind of decide what he needs.
And I have inadequate institutional program participation for institutional adjustment, inadequate evidence of under change in nature and circumstance.
Sounds great.
Yeah, that's fine by me.
Okay. So regarding Aaron Davis, 391545, I move to deny parole today based upon nature and circumstance of the current offense, inadequate institutional program participation, or institutional adjustment, and adequate evidence of offender change. Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Full is denied today. Mr. Davis, we're going to rehear you in October of 2027. We want you to take an addiction services program. We cannot stipulate the specific programs, but we would be interested in you seeking to take a voices program which deals with victims, and any other positive programming that you can take, and remain disciplinary report free. So don't get any more disciplinary reports. You haven't had one since October. That's a good thing. But we want you to keep up that work. And then your end of sentence isn't until April of 2029. If we see you in October of next year, that gives you a couple years worth of opportunity in the community if you can continue to do these programs and take care of business in there. Okay.
Okay.
All right. You have a good day.
Thank you.
A denial, but he'll be back in a year. And as long as Connecticut doesn't shut us down, because most states have tried to do that, we will be back. He'll be in the return of playlist. And it's insane. Truly, it is insane. Wait until I go into his jacket, into the details of his crime. Sir Richard found a lot. This guy is a monster. The crimes and the violence of his crimes and the level of it. And he is crazy actually listening to, again, a detective talk about what he's done. This guy groomed a little one, got her into a house when he's like 20, 26, 27, and then the full-on SA. And all they give him, again, look at this is so crazy. This isn't even his full record, by the way. Connecticut only shows you. He has this violent home invasion that I'm going to go through, by the way. But all he gets is they do the gimmick, 20 years, suspended after 5. What's that even mean? And then this happens on 1/18/2020. And I guess he's out on probation or something, because he gets these additional felonies: possession, interference, assault, possession with intent to distribute. And then he gets in prison with an unconditional discharge, which is just insane, right? But here's the article, the crime itself, which he was sentenced June 6, 2024, by the way. So he's in prison waiting for sentencing. A Middletown allegedly, so he was the ink only just dried 2 years ago, allegedly brought a teenage girl to a relative's basement and SA'd her, despite her pleas to stop. And they said he has to decide between a 5-year prison term or a dicey trial. Can you, like, he should get the 20 years just for the SA. Forget that she's a minor. It's nuts. He was scheduled to be sentenced Wednesday during a virtual hearing in written court, but he balked at the last moment when the judge informed him that he may not receive credit for time served. And I didn't know the judge had the power to do that. In April, Davis pled guilty under the Alford plea. That's something Connecticut loves to do, to 1 felony count of second-degree SA. An Alford plea means he disputes some of the allegations. Okay. According to the prosecutor in January 2020, Davis, then 27, allegedly corresponded with the 14-year-old, well, they say allegedly, on Instagram before picking her up from her home. I guess he wasn't convicted, right? So the girl did not tell her parents she would be with him, and instead that she was attending a sleepover. Can you imagine what a nightmare this is for a parent? Prosecutors allege Davis drove the girl to his relative's home and brought her to the basement where he SA'd her. The girl asked him to stop, but he held her arms down and continued. The girl later reported the incident was taken to an area hospital where a kit was performed. Attorney Christopher Eddy said that during the hearing, his client took the Alford plea because he disagrees with some of the accusations prosecutors that, by the way, they had DNA evidence. He acknowledged that Davis was linked to the incident by scientific evidence. So the DA is holding this violent habitual offender who is everything that he has a long violent history. They have all the evidence in the world, and he is dictating to the judge what he wants his sentence to be. The plea deal David accepted included a 20-year sentence that would be suspended after he served 5 years, 9 months of which is a minimum mandatory, 9-month minimum mandatory, followed by 15 years probation. He also required to register as an offender for a whole 10 years and a lifetime protective order. Prosecutors said that the deal was fair. Fair. Yeah, see, this is how the prosecutors think. This is how they literally think. Given the evidence linking Davis to the assault and the plea bargain, he would spare the victim from trauma. This is all BS. They do not care about the victim one bit. Davis was prepared to be sentenced Wednesday before the judge. The judge informed him that there was no promise to get credit for time served while locked up waiting for the case. Keegan said that Davis was previously sentenced in Middletown Superior Court in connection with an unrelated matter of that on that point behind bars. It was applied to that sentence. Prosecutors in the SA had originally offered a prison sentence that would be suspended after serving 8 years, but reduce the incarceration period, knowing Davis might not receive credit. So they said he might not receive credit. Not that he won't receive credit, but the judge might not give him credit. So let's reduce it from 8 to 5. This is the agenda-driven DA, guys. This is a mental illness. Actually, it should be a crime. If I would have known it, I never would have accepted the deal. I never said that. That is crazy. During the hearing, which Davis attended a video conferencing platform, he told Keegan he was under the impression that 3 years he had spent in jail would apply to the 5-year prison sentence he was about to receive. I just need to look back. It was 3 years he spent in jail. So, I mean, yeah, it adds up. He's from 2020 to 2024. So, the sentencing, Keegan told Davis that Connecticut Department of Correction ultimately makes a decision about what to lock up. She abandoned the sentencing procedure just before imposing the prison term and encouraged Eddie to get a better idea of how much jail credit Davis would receive. Keegan continued the case until next Tuesday, and as we know, he ends up getting the deal. He gets 20 years suspended after 5. And being that he was in prison since 2020, and his full term date is 2029, I guess he didn't get credit. So he didn't get credit for time served, which is a little bit of a nice thing to know. The judge did not give that to him. So although it's a 5-year on paper, he's serving this sentence consecutively, basically, is how they did it. So it's like the DA wouldn't actually go and charge him. The judge was pissed off and didn't give him credit to make it an actually like an 8-year sentence, 9-year sentence. So that's interesting to know. But let me show with you the violent crime that he committed in 2015, which, by the way, if the prosecutors had tried this to the fullest, the minimum mandatory sentence for a home invasion is 10 years. Is that right? 10 years? So he should have still been locked up until a year ago for this home invasion, but they did nothing. And let me just read this to you. And this is, again, the agenda-driven DA. This is 2015. A city man faces a host of charges, including home invasion, for allegedly choking and assaulting a woman while she was showering. And just wait until I say they let him out. They let him out on bail, and he went and assaulted her again like 3 days later. But just keep that in mind. Minimum 10, by the way, up to 25, because Connecticut had the Cheshire home invasion murders, the most horrific home invasion, not even nightmares can describe. And because of that, they updated their legislation. They went nuts, but it's all a gimmick because now that their legislation is so tough, the second toughest in the country for home invasions because of the Cheshire murders, the DAs just don't prosecute them as home invasions. That's their loophole. They just don't do it. And wait till you see what he did. Thank you again, Sir Richard. On July 11th at 2:30 p.m., police were called to Bailey Road about a domestic disturbance in which R.M. Davis, 22, entered the home of a woman he knew without being let in. Police say that Davis took the victim's car keys, kicked in the bathroom door while she was showering, took the cell phone out of her hand while she was on the phone dialing with 911. With 911, she's on the phone. He then proceeded to punch her in the stomach, knock her down in the bathtub, punch her in the back of the head, and as she left the bathroom, grabbed her neck and choked her. Police say Davis left the house, which he had been told by police officers repeatedly not to return to. There was a substantial damage to the bathroom, with drywall broken and knocked off the hallway wall and the shower curtain pulled down. The next day at 10 a.m., authorities were told Davis was in lane, but they responded he wasn't there. He was later found at Bailey Road and led on the police foot chase. More than an hour and a half later, at noon, he was found in a wooded area, according to the police. Once arrested, David allegedly told police that he ran because he knew he was going to get arrested and wanted to give his side of things. The report says he spoke to the victim, returned her keys, phone, and indicated that she didn't want to press charges. He had been let into the house by the victim's friend, Davis told police. He was waiting on the couch and heard the victim calling for police for the bathroom. He kicked in the door and took her phone. That's his side of the story. And a sworn affidavit said the victim pushed him into the wall and he hadn't choked her. Okay. Davis was charged with felony home invasion, which is 10-year minimum, robbery, second degree larceny, second degree strangulation, misdemeanor with an officer. Now, he was let out on bond that day, probably, because remember, this happened July 11th. So July 22, he comes back and kidnaps her. Okay? They let him out on bond after a home invasion, one of the harshest crimes you could commit in Connecticut, probably really second hard after murder, and according to their legislation, and because you can get 25 years for it, and he goes and he kidnaps her. A Middletown man is charged with kidnapping, stalking, and attacking his ex-girlfriend, stealing her car last Tuesday. All of these things. This was 2015. He's held on $1 million bond. Remember that it was just 4 years later when he catches assault on a police officer, larceny third degree, essay, and all of these felonies. So again, the blood is on the hands of these agenda-driven, psychopathic judges and DAs. The 18-year-old victim first called police after midnight on July 14th to report that he violated a restraining order, of course, by showing up outside the house she was at and punching her. An hour later, police again met with the victim, who they say was bleeding and covered in bruises. She told police David attacked her again. Davis had initially called her to discuss a small amount of money she owed him, according to police. He was standing outside waiting when the victim's friend left the house to go meet him. Police said Davis grabbed his former girlfriend and tried to force her to leave with him, but she was able to break free from his grasp. David then punched the woman and knocked her down before eventually leaving. At 2:15 a.m. on July 14th, police received a report of a woman screaming for help and Stack Street as the man was chasing and hitting her. Officers arrived and found the same victim. Police said her face and arms were bruised, her lips and legs were bleeding, and she had road burns down the side of her leg. Police said she were also marks on her neck. The woman told police that she had been sitting in her car on Grove Street when her friend went into the house to get something. Davis again appeared out of nowhere. He jumped into the driver's seat and sped off as the woman tried to get out of the car away from him. How scary. He's stalking her. And when the friend leaves, he jumps in, kidnaps her. The woman said Davis held onto her sweatshirt while she was hanging out of the door of the moving car. She finally managed to break free and landed on the pavement. Davis then turned around and tried to get her back inside the car, but she ran until he caught up with her on Grove Street and punched her in the face. What did he say? What did he say to Turner? That woman just jumped on him. That's what he learned in his programs. He has to he's such a catch. He's such a great catch. He has to stop women from jumping all over him. Now, when you have this context and you hear about this, does it not enrage you? Does it not fire you? Does it not get you pissed off? I mean, we're almost losing fact of the case that he brought a 14-year-old to a basement and full-on SA'd her. Davis abandoned the car on the road. According to police, he left the keys and tossed them in a nearby park. Police said the victim was taken to the hospital for treatment. Davis was gone. He ran when he saw emergency lights. As the search for Davis continues, the officer stopped Davis was riding in on Tuttle Road, but he got out of the van, according to police. And around 5 a.m., Davis allegedly broke into the house of his ex-girlfriend's mother, one of the victim's siblings, and told Davis he'd gone into the kitchen. Here's another home invasion. Police met with the victim's mother at 8:20 a.m. She told Davis to call her house and threatened her. Investigators continued to search for Davis for the next couple days. On Tuesday, June 21st, look, search it even blocks the private information. Search is amazing. Police received a tip that Davis may have been hiding out in the Meriden apartment. Police found him there with the victim, who said was not hurt and appeared to be there in her own free will. Oh, this victim is an idiot. I cannot stand. I just can't. What a psychopath. You know, we see this stuff all the time. Oh my God. Davis has been charged with first-degree kidnapping, first-degree stalking, first-degree burglary, carjacking, criminal violation of protective order, third-degree assault, first-degree reckless endangerment, first-degree unlawful restraint, second-degree larceny, and interference with an officer. And we don't know how much time he was sentenced for this because Connecticut hides information from you. They don't think the public should know what sentences are as soon as it's 10 years old. And if there's not an article, Sir Richard can't find it, we actually don't know. What we do know, by looking again at his record, is that this all happened, I have to remind my 2015, July 2015, and his next arrest is 2019. So the next conviction, the most he possibly could have served with this was 4 years. And there's no chance he did. And he probably had whatever he got, suspended sentence and probation and everything. And then he is just more assaults, more. And they think that a few programs will fix it. And Turner's like concerned, and you didn't wear a condom? So you'd get her. It's like, I mean, yes, that is something to bring up, but it was more, she was more offended by the fact that he wasn't handling proper birth control method versus that he's just a complete monster, that he risked passing on, who knows, like all of the other. Not to mention he caught an actual felony in prison. And it's like if they wanted to, they could have, why give him an unconditional discharge? Why give him that? Why not like add more time? And it's just there's only one conclusion, and there's an agenda. They put their head in the sand. They refuse to believe that there are dangerous, violent criminals that exist and that they can't get better. They won't get better. And you keep releasing them into the streets, you're just creating more victims over and over and over again. But they refuse to see it. They refuse to. They believe in their ideology. They believe that they are doing it better than the other states. They believe that this is what rehabilitation looks like. They will refuse to believe that there are those that cannot be amongst us in public. And that belief is creating this. That belief is dangerous. That belief is creating victims.
My niece will forever live with the consequences of his actions, as does our entire family. His own children have suffered profound and lasting harm as a result of the choices he made. Those consequences did not end with his conviction and will not end with his release.